Welcome to Dead Man Talking. Tonight's show is a very special show. We have a very special guest. She goes by the name Dead Girl Talking. She's my 10-year-old daughter. We've been having a lot of fun, and she has a great story for you guys. And a big shout to my friends over at Dark Pages from darkerages.com. Some fantastic stories on there, people, so make sure you check out that website. And I'll hand you over to Dead Girl Talking 666.
The Immortal Doll Shop of Stockholm. I've been stuck here for as long as I can remember. All that I remember of my past was that one fateful day when I was a visit of Stockholm, of having found this little shop. I had arrived here with my mother to visit grandparents for the winter, but my mother had sent me out on an errand because my grandfather fell ill. She wanted me to fetch some fresh fruit from the nearby market, and I agreed to do so. I made my way down the snowy alleyways towards the market. I passed many old homes on my way to the market when I came across a small shop sandwiched between two homes. The shop itself looked brand new from the outside, but it didn't appear to open as I gazed through the window. What caught my eye, however, wasn't the shop itself, but was rather a wooden doll had been placed right in front of the main shop window. Many old shops in Stockholm would put this new merchandise up in the front shop window for people who passed to see. The reason I stopped dead in my tracks and stared directly at this doll was because it looked like an exact replica of me. From the boots I wore to the scarf that was laced around my neck, to the coat I wore from preventing myself from falling ill like my grandfather. They even got the colour of my skin right in all pigmentation. They even managed to capture the exact look of the freckles I had on my face and the tiny birthmark that was underneath my right eye. It was far too uncanny for it to be random chance that I found this exact wooden replica of myself. Most people would think it would have run away from such a thing, believing it was just a foreboding of bad times or was a cursed object, but I absolutely loved weird things like this. However, this would turn out to be the time I most certainly regret indulging myself into curiosities. I went up into the shop door and turned the knob, but the door had appeared to be locked. Distraught, I continued to yank on the doorknob, desperately trying to open the shop that contained that precious doll. After many attempts to enter the shop, a frustrated slam against the glass window of the shop, I began to walk away, distraught not over being able to retrieve the doll I found so captivating. That was until I heard the door slowly open behind me. It surprised me and I caught to the hop back in the shop. But as I slowly walked towards it and moved the door itself, I saw that it was clearly open now. I proceeded inside of the shop. I looked around and examined the shop. There were few shelves on both left and right side of the shop, and the room behind the desk that was sealed away by another wooden door. I turned my gaze, faced the desk, and the dull replica of myself had been standing on, to only find it was not there anymore. I grew distraught as I looked around, slowly beginning to panic, as I believed it had most lost the doll, and trying to make sense of where it could have gone. I looked around, hoping that it fell somewhere, but only surfaced as a small wooden doll on the bicycle. It was slowly moving its wheels as I picked it up. It had been moving on the ground, but laid on its side. Unable to move anywhere, I placed it down correctly and proceeded to one of the shelves. I didn't hear the door close behind me, as I became too distracted by the sight of the doll again. There it was, sitting just a few shelves above me. I looked around to make sure that no one was reaching for the doll. With no wary eyes glancing or staring at me, I proceeded to reach for the doll. As I continued to reach up, I began to hear something all around me. I wasn't too sure what it was, but something surely was moving around in the shop. I desperately tried to reach up for the doll, but my arms were proving too short. I was growing more and more uncomfortable as I continued to hear the movement grow louder. I hopped up, reached up to the doll, but I was still unable to grab it. I looked around for anything that would help me grab it. I looked around the shop until I finally came across a stepping stool. I moved it over to the shelf and stepped on top of it. I cherished the moment as I slowly reached my hand to the doll, but I was immediately frightened as my hand made contact. My eyes blinked open. I was sitting up on the shelf. I moved my eyes around, desperately looking to see what had fastened me upon the shelf. It took me a brief moment to realise what had just occurred, every growing moment, only to serve me, clarifying and further. I was now inside of the doll, my eyes rattling inside my head as I looked around in panic. I looked around to my lap and see my hand permanently attached to the pen and a large pad of paper having been placed on my legs. I tried to move my legs, stand up, shift them, move them, hoping I would be able to rise to my feet and escape, but it was no use. All that I could move now were the eyes to rattle inside my head and the pen that was attached to. I could no longer speak, and every attempt to open my mouth and scream was silenced by the sealed line that had been carved into my face as a permanent smile. I looked around the shop, hoping to find something, anything that could help me break me free, but I only grew more horrified as my eyes met the gaze of a truly horroring face. As I looked down, I could see myself, or rather see my body. I was standing there with a large extended grin to greet me. What my soul filled with fear and will haunt me for the rest of my days was the evil gaze I saw coming from my own eyes. My own eyes were no longer bright green, but were now soulless black. My body let out a high-pitched giggle and proceeded to run out of the shop, cackling as it ran back to my home. I wanted to cry, to scream, to hang my head low, to do anything, but I was forced to simply sit there and watch the terrifying revelation unfold, as well as the countless days that passed it. Time is difficult to keep track of in the shop, whereas little else changes for the few rattling glances of the eyes of the dolls, lost souls who have been trapped there here like me. That noise I continued to hear as I reached for the dolls that fateful day wasn't some anomalous creaking in the shop. It was the sound of all the dolls watching me in fear as I reached out towards my own prison. I am forever trapped in this wooden shell and will never be able to escape, and the only sounds I can hear besides the rattling steps of a few other dolls is a low, deep voice every Christmas Eve. On Christmas Eve, one fateful day, all my wonderful toys can come out to play. Every time I hear that voice, I see the various people walk or even run past the shop, many of them laughing or cackling the same way my body did when it left. I sometimes saw one of their faces as they all passed by. All of them were soulless like my body, and marked with two solid black eyes. All I can do now is sit here with the pen I was given to write. And once I saw a young girl enter the shop, I was unable to help her as she reached out and touched the door and became prisoner of the shop like me. I am one of the few dolls that can move, so I will write down my tale in hopes that someone who entered the shop will read my message before it's too late. We are sometimes moved around from place to place by the shop and seated in different locations. If you are reading this paper now and have come here to obtain the doll that looks much like you yourself, I have one message for you. Do not touch the dolls. Turn around and run away as fast as you can and never return, lest you fall victim to the Immortal doll shop of Stockholm. Thanks for watching. I'm Dead Girl Talking 666.
Wow, don't forget to like, comment and share, guys. It really helps build this channel. I'm a very proud daddy right now. I hope you enjoyed that. Stay tuned for more from Dead Girl Talking and myself, Dead Man Talking. Bye, guys. Remember, be safe, not sorry.